we need to have a motion on the floor before we have discussion.
Well, let me finish what I was saying, Mr. Hudson. In that manner, the reason I'm saying it that way, Mr. Hudson, is it will alert parents that we do have a disciplinary policy in place, and which would include a tribunal. And we know all the problems that we've had in regards to that. So I'm totally agree with Ms. Cruz on that.
And forgive me for getting out of Robert's Rule of Order.
That's all right, Madam Chair.
If we could have a motion to approve the student code of conduct, could that motion be with this one little amendment?
Well, I've got if somebody would second it, I'd like to have a discussion on it.
Okay. Second.
If you're going to do that, then profanity, vulgarity, pornography, obscene language used verbally or manually in the written form should also be there, because I've heard throughout that school that there's so much bad language out there that we don't follow the policy on this. Let's put that on the back of the book too and start following our policy on that, which says parent contact, guidance referral, and 3 days of ISS. Basically what I'm saying is if we start with just fighting, that they already should know. My child went to Valdosta High School last year. As soon as we passed that policy, she knew exactly what the circumstances were. There was no question. If they sign this code of conduct, it's the responsibility of the parents to read this. We don't need, I mean, at what point do we stop hand carrying them through this process? I mean, we can't protect everybody. They need to take some responsibility for what their students.
I think we're heading in the right direction. We are alerting parents. We're communicating with parents better now, I believe, than we ever communicated with parents before in the past. And whatever language that we need to use, Mr. Love, I have no objection of that. As long as we're making sure that we have some documentation that they are familiar with what's in the book.
And don't they sign that documentation?
They do. Can I make a suggestion here on the acknowledgement page? What I would like to do is I would like to expand what we have on the acknowledgement page. It says, by signing this form, we acknowledge that our family has reviewed the code of conduct, and I would like to add, we further acknowledge that we understand the information presented in the code of conduct. Would that suffice? Or do we still need to be a little more specific and add
I think her point is because we have made a change, you know, for those of us that have multiple children in the system, we've seen that code of conduct. So I'm just as guilty as the rest of going, but if I look on the back and it says, please note changes were made this year concerning this policy, and this policy, and that may draw my attention back to those changes so that I well understand. Is that the point you're?
Yeah. Yes, and then also the board this year, we thought that we put in place a policy that had teeth. It made a difference at the high school. But then we had to turn around and reverse the decision on 11 cases. And it really didn't make us look as though we put a policy in effect with teeth. And that just puts it into place.
Right, so now everybody's aware.
Yes.
That's fine.
Okay, so exactly what was your motion?
To approve as presented.
As presented. So we'll need to either withdraw that motion or vote that motion down since it's been seconded.
Call for the question.
Okay. All those in favor? Okay. All those opposed? Now I'd like to entertain the second motion.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the policy, what's the number? Student code of conduct with the amendments that Dr. Henson has heard from the board of the new handbook for the 2012-2013 school year.
Second that motion.
All those in favor? All those opposed? Thank you. Okay. Would you mind going over policy JDD with us?
Yes, ma'am. JDD, student suspension policy. Currently, under this policy, students are allowed 3 days to make up any misgraded assignments after returning from a suspension. The high school administration has expressed a major concern about this policy because we have several students who are opting out of going to in-school suspension and saying, no, suspend me because I have 3 days to make up my work. So, we are proposing that under this proposed revised policy, we would like to strike through, students will be allowed 3 days to make up any misgraded assignments after returning from a suspension. You see the strike throughs there, and that should be on page, I'm sorry, that should be on page 50. And we are proposing that we place in this policy, except for final semester exams, students who miss assignments due to disciplinary suspension will not be allowed to make up any work in or graded assignments.
How do we know that that student will have the option of in-school suspension?
The administration will make that determination that the student will have the option for in-school suspension based on the level of infraction and the disposition.
Let's say, let's use my 15-year-old boy as an example. Let's say, Lord have mercy, he gets into a fight, and we've suspended him. Or he does something that is a level 3 infraction, and he's out of school for 5 days for some reason. And we don't have a choice of in-school suspension. He takes a couple of zeros on some tests. He can't pull that.
But now keep in mind, with fighting, that's an automatic, if he's found guilty, that's an automatic referral to the Primary Learning Center. So time missed shouldn't be a lot because it should be a quick transition. If the parent agrees to the waiver, if we have to go through the tribunal process, but we'll still place that student over at the Primary Learning Center until the hearing has been held. So a lot of time will not be missed there. We're talking about infractions such as students using profanity, okay? Most of the time, those students will be assigned to ISS on the first infraction. But we have students who say, no, I'm not going to ISS. So the administration has no other choice but to suspend that child. Those are the infractions that we're talking about there.
Can you foresee any instance where the child could be at risk of being back at the high school and having to recover the zeros if we don't give them a chance for in-school suspension?
Sorry, repeat that again.
Could you see any instance where a child could get into that situation where we have to have an out-of-school suspension and they would miss an opportunity? I wouldn't say make up things all the way, but make up things to even 50%. Or would most cases go to ISS first?
Most cases would go to ISS first.
Is out-of-school suspension automatically 3 days? Could it just be 1? Could it be 2?
It can range from
It
1
can
to
range
3. Yes, ma'am.
1 to 3,
It can
never
range
5.
Never 5.
So what I'm
We try and
hearing,
use a progression.
So you're not going to have 2 tests in 3 days?
3 days.
Well, in 2 different subjects you might.
so for what I'm hearing, the student has a choice of how he or she wants to be disciplined?
No, they don't have a choice, but sometimes you have students who, we assign ISS, but then they say, no, we're not going to go to ISS. And so if they don't go, then the only other option is to suspend them. So we try not to give them a choice, but sometimes they make a decision. Right?
Yeah, that's why I was concerned about that.
They don't want to fault.
Do we have a problem with them living with their decision?
No.
See, they have control of what they want to do.
Then if they decide not to go to ISS and go against our policy,
When we go home, then we don't get a chance to make it up.
well, then let them go to the PLC after that. Put some teeth into it.
Okay. I think I feel better.
And you're not talking about a large percentage of students.
I know,
You're not.
it's the same one.
And it usually wouldn't be the first time. Okay.
Well, no, this is information on
What concerns me here is trying to put this in a way where it won't offend anybody, because it's going to be tough for me to do that. Now, you're bringing this to us tonight because some of the teachers stated what?
And administration.
And the administration
Yes, sir.
stated,
That there is a major concern with students opting out of going to ISS, taking their punishment and going to ISS and saying suspending it because they know they could go home for the 1, 3, however many days and still come back and have an opportunity to make up if you missed assignments.
let me make sure I understand you in the suspension opportunity. The student has an opportunity given to them, either 3 days in school suspension
Yes.
or at home. Why are we giving them that opportunity?
Why are we giving them?
Why are we giving them the opportunity?
to
When
go
that
home?
infraction takes place, it should be automatic. 3 days in school suspension, or 3 days at home.
They start out with in-school suspension, but you have the students, they don't show up.
They just suspend it.
They're saying just suspend it.
Who's running the system?
What are you gonna do, send the truancy officer after them?
No, I mean, you mean to tell me I can go out to Valdosta High School and I can get in trouble for using profanity? And you're the principal. You're gonna call me in and say, you have 3 days in school suspension if you don't go to three
No,
days.
the administration is not giving them a choice. The administration is making the assignment. The assignment is you have 1, 2, 3 days in school suspension.
Okay.
But you have students that are coming back and telling the administrators, I'm not going to ISS.
So why even would you consider giving them an opportunity to make the work up?
Right.
Because the policy.
That's what the policy is.
And how long that policy's been in existence?
I don't know, you
It was last revised March 28, 2011.
Okay, I understand better now,
The
thank
kids
you.
have figured out how to work it. They're smart. So,
Yeah, we gotta be
so
smart.
now we gotta get ahead of them. They gotta just figure out how to do it.
Gotta put your foot down.
The administration, they're not giving an option. They're not giving a choice. The students are bucking the decision.
And then they're saying, it's excused, y'all gotta figure how it
While
works.
we are here, Madam Chair, and Mr. Superintendent, I would like for us to, we continue to have good retreats, but at some point, here in the near future, I would like for us to review our policy manual.
Are we ready to move on to the next policy?
This is information.
This is information only.